violence, exploitation, and love. Watch how Botticelli paints the female form in a gruesome depiction in this 4-painting series, commissioned to teach women what to expect from marriage. The first of 4 panels from the 100 short stories of the Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio covers tales ranging from the erotic to the tragic. This scene in particular shows the story of a woman damned to hell, forced to be on the run from a lover whom she rejected. He had committed suicide out of hatred for her. We encounter their doom in the form of an eternal hunt, in which every Friday the woman would be chased nude by her ex-lover until killed. Her body is subsequently restored, and she is forced to relive the killing all over again. Nastagio degli Onesti, the story's protagonist, comes across these 2 damned characters and uses their own story as example when he shows his own ex-lover who had rejected him during an elaborate banquet, which features in a subsequent painting by Botticelli from the same series. At the sight of the knight and the nude woman, the love interest is shocked and decides to go back on her own word and marry Nastagio. The knight and nude woman presumably continue to chase for the rest of time. In author Boccaccio's eyes, this story had a positive outcome, the moral being everyone has the right to love and be loved in return. The sin being choosing not to love. The reality for the 2 women in this story is being forced into love against their will. Instead, one reluctantly goes back to an old lover she had not wanted, and the other is subject to what is an essentially eternal public torture. This story is in fact an assault on female consent, exclaiming that in fact women who, for their own reason, have decided not to love a man, are in fact obstinate and sinful. This could be read as heterosexist or homophobic. There is no critique of the virtuousness of this forced love in the face of a very real threat of punishment. Botticelli employs theatrical posing of the characters, which stand out against the grid-like perspective created by the horizontal landscape and vertical tree trunks. She is being bitten on the bottom by a very graceful white dog, whose bestial presence heightens the drama, but also blurs the boundary between fable and reality. The biting the flesh of her bottom is undeniably an erotic choice. The painting exploits, as it presents a woman who is both beautiful and in pain. We are beguiled by her, but rather for the wrong reasons if we read the work through Boccaccio and Botticelli's intentions, therefore the male gaze. At first glance, or from afar, she could be read as dancing. Her body is outstretched and her hair unfurling. But this grisly image of a woman's torture is used rather as a means of matrimonial caution, in absolute homage to the patriarchy. The cautionary imagery gets darker as the story does too. In the second painting in the series, our knight has now caught the woman subject to his pursuit. We witness him slicing her open as his dogs devour her organs in the bottom right. An earlier scene in this story is taking place in the background, as we can view the eternal chase in its continuous motion. Botticelli plays with time and storytelling here, as the knight and woman run like spectres in the narrative as they play out the phenomenon of purgatory within the real world. This panel is another cruel depiction of women subject to violence, which, though a fable, had a very real tie to the then current day, as this series of paintings was commissioned to be made for a to-be-wed couple in 15th century Florence. The nude woman here is no longer a symbol of perfection or a site of desire, as in a lot of works of art prior, particularly in the work of Botticelli, but instead a site of embarrassment, of shame. She is the vessel on which we project civic virtue and the upholding of male dominance. Art historian Christina Cotaldo notes that the use of women in a compromised position, such as violence or rape, was a popular image reference within wedding gifts during Renaissance Italy. She notes, the first Romans lacking women to marry and with whom to create a community raped the Sabine women, who remained Roman wives after being children. It was popular to cover spallieri, i.e. chests, or deschi, i.e. trays, both typical of wedding gifts, with the rape of the Sabine women. The Sabine women were applauded for abiding by their rapists, in time becoming their wives, as well as the devotion to their city. I have left the link to Cotaldo's excellent paper in the description. In the third painting, The demonstration of the doomed couple to the main story's prospective pair, still of this earth, takes place. The presence of banquet goers makes further public the already palpable embarrassment of our haunted woman, particularly that they are clothed and she is not. Cotaldo comments on her state of motion as resembling that of the unpleasantness of falling from a dream. Once again, reality and the spectral tease each other. Likewise, our central female figure represents the fall from grace. The women on the left are shocked, representing those within society, further juxtaposing she who is disgraced and outside of society, framed also by the dining tables. She is the wild woman, akin to that of nature, both beautiful and problematic to that of male order. These two contrasting female types represent the sole two designations men have subject women to throughout history. Sigmund Freud famously labelled this dichotomy the Madonna-whore complex, claiming that where such men love, they have no desire, and where they desire, they cannot love. While we have come a long way, it is a shame many men still share the sentiment today. In the final panel, the marriage of Nastagio to his beloved takes place. Unfortunately, when I looked up the marriage of Nastagio degli Onesti by Botticelli, the only available online image is this, which is of terrible quality, which won't be a great visual aid to this video, but it's the best I could do. So we'll have to persevere. I hope you can understand. Featuring no sight of the poor nude woman who has been the centre of all the previous compositions as the scandalised figure around which all the other figures, beasts and scenery arrange themselves. She has been the vehicle for the story, and yet at its close is nowhere to be seen, remaining the metaphor to instill female obedience and the institution of marriage, used only as the means on which to enact male violence. We see the woman as victim in visual media to this day, and in current affairs. She has equally been the means of entertainment, as the camera, the brush, the hand permit us to watch her pain. In turn, the centering of this victimizing is embroiled with her history as the site of desire. The male gaze, more often than not, is writing the victim narrative, urging us to watch on, feeding on unhealthy desires that can lead to dangerous actions. Productive examples of women taking control of the depiction of their own pain can be seen in the works of people like Artemisia Gentileschi and Tracy Emin. We have seen Botticelli's beautiful women take on a darker form than usual in this work. In art, Botticelli subscribed to ideas of Neoplatonism, which were circulating during the Renaissance, which saw the depiction of an idealized beauty in art as that which could bring us closer to God. At the same time, we have seen several dichotomies throughout this series: Madonna and whore, beauty and pain, rejection and love. As one of Botticelli's lesser-known works, perhaps for the unpleasantness of their visceral nature, we have to credit them for their clarity in the message of the derogation of women, alternative to his often more subtle objectifications. The male gaze is convoluted. The waters are murky. I would love to hear your opinion on this series. When did you first encounter it? Is this the first time? I remain to want to bring a more alternative art history to this channel, though undeniably Botticelli is one of everyone's favourites. Check out too the previous video series on this channel where we explored 3 of Botticelli's most beloved paintings of Venus and how they are interpreted. Thank you for watching.